All right, guys. Welcome back to those of you who have been subscribed for a very long time. And it has been a very long time since I've uploaded a video. If I'm not mistaken, it's been about 2 years. And for those of you who might be new here, welcome in. The reason this channel has 240 something subscribers and has no content is because I initially took a stab at making red pill content, but taking a little bit of a different avenue and trying to show men repetitive patterns that tend to appear in modern dating, in an effort to teach red flags that you might see in women, for no other reason than to just avoid some heartache, because there's a lot of that to go around. And I was not anticipating the amount of local blowback that I would receive from that. A lot of the local women who may or may not have been used to demonstrate red flags got incredibly frustrated. I lost quite a couple jobs because of it. And I'm not rich like Myron and the Tates and all them. I can't afford to get canceled like that. So that's why the content is gone. While I still 100% agree with the red pill descriptors of reality, I, over the last 2 years, have gone through a lot of different things. Of course, as we get older, we learn more, become wiser, if we're trying to be anyways, and we learn new things. And my ideologies on the prescriptions is ultimately what has changed, because the more things continue to progress, the more progressive culture becomes. The game is only getting more and more rigged. And what I have noticed when it comes to red pill prescriptions, regardless of who you might point at, if you reduce the worldview, it basically sums up as, hey guys, the game is getting more rigged. There's more fail-safes in place for you to fail and the system to win. And even if you do all the things required by the red pill prescription in terms of getting your money up, looks maxing, all that shit. Even if you do all of that, it still does not guarantee that the reward, that the juice is worth the squeeze. And if we're being completely honest with ourselves as men, even if you do everything to the letter and you give your absolute hardest towards these prescriptions, which, again, the prescriptions of self-improvement, I don't disagree with, but it's the intent behind it. I think if we're honest with ourselves, even if all the men in the world accepted that red pill descriptors were true, and that at least in terms of discipline, red pill prescriptions were true, and they did everything they were supposed to do to the letter, 90% of men are still going to come up short. They're still not going to win the game. And I think if the intent behind it is the hope for family, for familial legacy, that a lot of men at the end of this road are going to be incredibly disappointed. They're going to be incredibly depressed. I think the rate of self-deletion is only going to get worse. So, with that said, I am now taking this channel, heading it in a slightly different direction. I believe that direction is going to be, for one, because some of you have actually reached out and have been wanting some fitness advice. And I don't know why, but I've always kind of ran from that responsibility, that sense of leadership. But no more. No more. I'm not doing it anymore. So part of this channel, of course, is going to be teaching you guys how I work out. And as you can see behind me, I work out from home. And, you know, you really wouldn't guess it by me sitting here. I'll even put up a picture on screen. I'm as big as Larry Wheels. I'm literally getting ready to compete in bodybuilding. I'm hoping to be able to come out the fucking gate and just sweep the competition. That's what I'm aiming for. It's why I haven't competed up until this point yet in my life, but that's the goal. However, unlike Larry Wheels and a lot of the open class bodybuilders, I do not take copious amounts of drugs. I do not work out 6-7 days a week. A lot of that shit is nonsense. A lot of these things are overcompensation for a lack of intensity. So I subscribe very heavily to the high intensity philosophy. It's just a slight adaptation and evolution of Arthur Jones and Mike Mentzer's philosophy. It is unbelievably, painfully intense exercise. And I believe that, you know, if you're trying to build a next level physique and you're trying to do it in a way to where you can still have a life, stick around because I'm going to show you how to do that. I only work out 2 times a week because the intensity is so unreal that I need that time to recover. And you will too. But that time in recovery is going to be utilized, and this is where I tend to align a lot more with Mike Menser. I think people need to study philosophy, study the book of Proverbs, which is a men's self-help book, and study the New Testament in terms of mastering the flesh, fleeing from lusts. That's going to be another huge part of this channel is, I've gone through a lot recently in terms of being humbled by our Creator in my character and my ignoring of my calling and my ignoring Him and letting Him lead me and thinking that I'm capable of doing this on my own. So, for one, we're going to start with high intensity training because I believe wholeheartedly, because of how intense I'm going to show you how to do things, it is a battle of the mind. It really truly is, because your flesh is going to be screaming at you to please stop what you are doing. And I am going to teach you how to tell it no. And by learning that technique first through this training, it will then become easier for you to start to apply that discipline towards other areas of your flesh. And this is something that I believe the red pill at least gets 80% correct in its prescriptions. They believe wholeheartedly that you should discipline yourself in terms of fitness, that you should get in shape and lose weight, that they believe wholeheartedly that you should discipline yourself in terms of finances, figuring out how to make more money, if for no other reason than to just survive this world that continues to collapse because the dollar becomes less and less valuable. To discipline yourself in terms of emotional regulation, in terms of your mindset, and what you are and aren't willing to allow. Things like that, I wholeheartedly agree with. I think they get most of it right. My problem with the red pill prescription, though, is that even though, nutrition and sleep and fitness and anger And all of these different things that they also agree with that you should discipline, they treat it as discipline in those areas for the sake of being as undisciplined towards the sexual urges as much as you can possibly indulge yourself with. And that I wholeheartedly disagree with. There is, I believe, hidden power in celibacy. I believe that there is hidden power in learning to train your mind to resist those urges, to resist watching porn, to resist jacking off, and to resist even entertaining women. There is power in these things. There is power in learning to control your imagination when you are horniest. And I will teach you how to do these things because these are things I have mastered. These are things that I can tell you without a doubt that I have completely brought to submission within myself. This is something that you can achieve. And I believe it's important for you guys to learn this and understand this because there is a level of peace that comes with checking out of the game and build a legacy a different way. You know, if you look at throughout history, Immanuel Kant, Isaac Newton, Nikolai Tesla, Paul, Yahusha himself, so many figures throughout history. I mean, there's a huge list of inventors, huge list of philosophers. A lot of the Stoic philosophers preferred isolation and solitude and went unmarried. And yet, somehow, in spite of the fact that they created no familial legacy, these are men who are still talked about today on a regular basis. Their legacy carried far more weight than a familial legacy. And I think the reason for that is because if you just look at how energy has to direct itself when you create a family, the attention, the discipline, all of it becomes inward. It collapses inward. It has to, because now you have something that keeps you grounded. Now you have something to protect and to take care of, right? That takes up a large amount of your time. It takes up a large amount of your energy. And it takes up a large amount of focus. And my goal here, in spite of how much hatred and pushback I might get from this, in spite of the names I'll get called, in spite of how small of a following I might grow, in spite of the fact that I might never make money from doing this, that is okay. Because a lot of these men's legacies didn't really come to fruition. You even include the prophets in that. More than 90% of them went unmarried and childless. You know, you look at these men's legacies, a lot of them didn't come to fruition and gain respect until after they died. So I'm resigned to that. I'm okay with that. And through effort, through discipline, through hard work, you guys can build something that still lasts beyond you, that does not require a family. So, you know, if you're getting tired of red pill prescriptions and you're tired of getting told to just get rich, if you're tired of getting told that it's becoming more and more difficult and you just need to try harder, if you want something deeper and more meaningful than that, well, then you're more than welcome to stay, because self-discipline is truly the name of the game of humanity. The more disciplined of a man you become, the less and less you tend to care about things, the things of this world, the things that other men, lesser men, care about. So that's it for this video. get ready for content. I'm literally recording tomorrow with a couple boys that I bounce with on the weekends, and they want me to train them. So I'm going to work out with them tomorrow and record me putting them through the fucking ringer for the first time because they've never worked out with me before. But they've heard my philosophy and they're incredibly excited to work out the way I work out. So if you're looking to get fit, if you just want this to be a thing where you learn how to get super fucking jacked, right? And not have to be in the gym 24/7, you come to the right place, okay? However, if all the rest of this resonates in you, please stick around because HIIT is only one form of self-mastery. Self-mastery of the body, of the muscles anyways. But I am going to teach you how to self-master the rest of yourself. You know, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I've got it completely down pat either. You know, I still, being the man that I am, you know, anger is always something that I'm going to be struggling with and constantly wrestling under submission. I would say that anger is probably ahead on that list above sexual urges in terms of how easy that is to control in comparison to my anger. So I'm right there with you guys. I'm still mastering things myself, but the one urge that the world is telling you not to master, this is the channel that is going to tell you to master it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to baby you and tell you it's okay to play with your dick like a monkey and fuck everything that moves. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to teach you the exact opposite. I'm going to teach you to run away from women, to flee from your lusts, to flee from your flesh, to bring your desires to submission. So I appreciate you guys, and subscribe, and see you next time.